Hey, this is Captain Paul Brawley with Fish Finder Guide Service. How are y'all doing this week? Weather has finally remained a little bit consistent. Nice having these 60s early and 80s later, maybe a little bit of 50s and upper 70s, but the weather's finally stabilized a little bit and the fish kind of know what they're wanting to do. So we're going to start out this week over here, what we call the Gap, which is this area here. It's got a big gap in Spoil Islands. I don't know if you look down the Intercoastal, you'll see there's many Spoil Islands, and then there's a gap before there's any more. And this is what we call the Gap. So in here, if you choose, you can wade it. It's kind of deep. So I would suggest maybe just staying on your boat. If you wade, you're going to wade in this area here where these shallow humps are. But out in here, you're going to be about wader high, maybe an inch or two underneath your waders. So you're going to be cutting it pretty close, especially if you stop in a hole. So through here, what I've been doing is running up this little channel, coming and getting in front of this island, and then drifting back towards the Intercoastal right here. Through there, we're going to be looking for redfish and speckled trout. You can use popping cork with shrimp if you can get it. There hasn't been much available, so I have been mainly throwing lures. So what I would be throwing through there is my good old faithful purple with a chartreuse tail, pumpkin seed with a chartreuse tail, or plain purple or plain strawberry. Anywhere through there, I like using Bass Assassins, down south lures, and power baits. If I am fishing from the deck of the boat, I use a 1/8 ounce jig head. If I am fishing up on my tower, I am using more of a quarter to keep it down in the water. But all through that area there, you should be able to find some speckled trout and redfish. Moving across the Intercoastal into this area right here, you would stay in the Intercoastal, start making drifts back this way. Anywhere through this area here, you can find the same speckled trout and redfish. A lot more trout the further you get out here towards the Emmerds, and a lot more reds the tighter you are to these Spoil Islands. Also, you'll still be using same lures, same methods, but that little area seems to be where there is quite a few redfish and trout now that the weather has stabilized. All right, moving right along. We're going to come from this side and we're going to be checking out this area where the grass starts all through the natural drop here. We're going to be drifting back towards King Ranch shoreline. I want you to try some of the Four Horsemen corks, about a 15-inch drop, a 1/8 ounce or a 1/16 ounce jig head with a 3-inch Berkeley gulp underneath it, the gulp shrimp. That once the wind will start blowing a little bit in the afternoons, this water will turn a trout green, like a milky green through here. And if you roll through here, popping corks, pop in the corks with the gulps on the bottom, it'll act just about like you have live shrimp, and you will be able to pick up quite a few trout through there and possibly a few redfish. Anywhere along this drop, even further back this way, right where this grass kind of meets this deeper water, and you're going to be drifting over these sandy, grassy beds back towards the King Ranch shoreline. Do be careful in this area here, as there are some rocks right in there that come pretty far off the shore. Everywhere else, as long as you stay in a couple of foot of water heading towards the shore, you're going to be fine. That area there has been holding quite a few trout. Like I said, popping corks, 15-inch drop, maybe a 1/8 ounce or lighter jig head with a 3-inch Berkeley gulp. I prefer using the Four Horsemen corks. It is not that you can't use some other kind. You can. I like the sound the Four Horsemen makes, and I like the way it attracts fish. You may also come over here, come up the channel that leads to Bird Island, kind of run out, staying in the boat zone, and start drifting back towards the Intercoastal this way, and using the same methods. As long as the water's a little bit off colored and not crystal clear, you'll be able to catch some real nice trout through there. All right. Let's move on over here to the east shoreline. This is going to be talking to my wade fishermen we're going to be looking at these sandbars all through here, all that sand. During the middle of the day when it heats up and it's sunny, that water's probably a good foot on there, and you're going to have black drum and redfish running on top of that sand warming up. They're going to be out here sunning all these sandbars, any of these sandbars, this whole way, back this way too, any of these sandbars where they're just submerged about a foot underneath the water. You're going to pull up, park your boat, put your power poles down, jump out. It's probably going to be just maybe knee deep or less. Start walking with the wind to your back and the sun up high, and start looking for reds. You can use lures there. I would carry a jig head or some jig heads and some dead shrimp, because you will see some black drum up on that shallow sand, and you'll be able to catch those too. And I don't think those reds would say no to a dead shrimp if you put it out in front of them and give it some pops. They're probably going to be pretty interested in that. Anyway, that sand, when it warms up midday with the sun bright, you will have reds trolling that sand, and you will have some drums up there with them. Coming across over here behind these spoils right here, all these spoils, especially later in the day when it gets windy, you're going to be setting up out in front of those spoils, throwing the poppin' cork with the Berkeley gulps underneath them. Make sure you use about a 15-inch leader with a 1/16 ounce jig head with a 3-inch Berkeley gulp. I prefer to use the Four Horsemen cork, which I think I have thusly mentioned many times. What I like doing is coming up, power pulling down, throwing, pick up, troll down a little bit, power pole down, do it again, whichever way you're coming from. Any of these spoils behind them, stay out of the bird zone, but as long as you are off of them enough, you can throw up to the grass and sand that's around them and pick up some really nice redfish and trout all around those. If you're lucky enough to find some live shrimp somewhere, live shrimp would be definitely optimal. But that area there behind those spoils for staying on the boat, throwing popping corks and shrimp, and the back shoreline back here for wade fishing, sight casting redfish. You can get out right off the drop, all off these drops out here a little bit, and wade down and try to catch a few trout. My problem with that is all the boats that are running from Bird Island to Baffin Bay kind of burn that area up. But up high on the shallow, where it's only like less than knee deep, you're going to be fine looking for redfish up there. There will be reds up there on the sunny days. Anyway, till next time, you guys be courteous to each other. Catch a bunch of fish.